Hey, business building warrior, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm your host, Jim Cockrum, and we have a weekend update episode for you. As often as we can, we're going to compile some of the best moments from recent episodes, just in case you missed something, or if you want to be reminded of some of the greatest tips and strategies, some of those compelling, maybe emotional moments from some of the recent podcast episodes, some things to really get you fired up and motivated. Maybe you're going to work hard this weekend and knock out some good action on your business. Well, this is a great podcast episode to take with you, our weekend updates. These are short segments, little clips from recent episodes that you may have missed. Now, keep in mind, if you want to hear the full episode for anything you're about to hear, just check the show notes. Go to silentjimdotcom, find this podcast episode, and look for the show notes. We'll tell you exactly which episode each of our clips were pulled from, so you can go check out the full thing if you'd like. But in any case, thanks for being a listener to this show. Thanks for being a part of the growing community of people who enjoy and benefit from the Amazon and e-commerce training that we provide in this community. So one little reminder, all the great people you're going to hear today being interviewed, the discussions I'm having, they all have something in common. They are all students of the Proven Amazon course, the most established, most success-filled, most frequently updated, most cutting-edge Amazon training course that's great for anyone from brand new sellers who've never sold anything before online to some of the most advanced sellers you'll ever meet. They're all using the Proven Amazon course strategies or our coaching program. There's links to both at silentjim.com, as well as a link to our free Facebook group where we've got, as I record this, over 71,000 members who are interacting from around the world using the strategies that we teach on this podcast and in our content. So let's jump into the weekend update. Thanks for listening. We'll have brand new episodes for you very soon. So keep listening, keep checking back. Enjoy the weekend update.
My initial introduction was backtracked 2 years ago from 2020 when I paid a really expensive course on private label, which is a huge mistake.
Oops. Talk us through that briefly, unless it's too dramatic or...
I just knew that I needed to, I wanted to start a business and I thought e-commerce is the way to go. But I didn't know any better. I thought private label is the way to, as an entry point, but it's not. I was kind of misled in a way.
You spent some time on YouTube, I'm guessing.
Yes. And that's how I found it because I've been researching. And
I don't know if you've heard me talk about this before, Marcel, but that's a sad story we've heard so many times.
Yeah.
So many times. People started with private label because that's what everyone on YouTube was talking about. And they end up spending, and you don't have to tell us how much you spent, but I can tell you it was between $8,000 and $40,000. And they got basically nothing for it, except maybe a garage full of product they couldn't sell. I mean, that's the story we've heard.
Yeah.
Over and over for years.
Yeah. And the third part is, I didn't have that money. I had to find that money. And when it did not pan out, it was very painful. And I had to do a step back, like a year at least. I was thinking, here I am again, trying to find something. I probably did some network and direct marketing before, like half a dozen of them. And finally I thought I have e-commerce, and then I did that. And then that happened. So it's just sad. I need a year, as I was mentioning, just to recover from it.
Yeah.
But there's the one thing that happened out of it, just trying to look at the positive side of it, is I did get set up with my LLC and my professional seller account at the Amazon. You have two choices, individual or professional. So right. I got that all set up. So the verification process, it takes a couple of weeks or so. And when I was ready to jump back in a year after, everything is there, I could just resubscribe. It just continue. So that made it quick. I started to forgive loved ones who I thought hurt me. And when I forgave, it's like the blinders were lifted and my eyes were opened.
That's
and at that point, God said, "Now, Marcel, you're ready." Like, I'll be ready to do whatever He's going to do in my life. So that's what He was waiting for me, to have that heart of, to forgive. And in the Proven Conference in Louisville, you had a pastor guest who spoke about forgiveness.
Pastor Kevin, my lifelong friend. Yeah. His book, A Fight to Forgive. He was our Sunday morning speaker. So you got to hear him speak.
So I get to hear that. I was like crying. Oh, I remember it. Yeah. So here I was going to a seller conference, and you've designed the conference so that the business and faith kind of weave together. So
Yeah, I don't know how to separate.
It's perfect for me, though. Perfect for me. So
I'm sometimes asked, Marcel, people will say, how have you woven faith and business together? Like, how do you do that? And so you're asking the wrong question of me. I don't know how to separate them. I have no idea. I honestly don't. They're the rules for success in relationships, in health, in business, in spirituality. The rules for success are all identical. So if I'm talking about success in any one of them, I'm talking about success in all the others at the same time. In relationships, the rules are all the same. Others.
Yeah.
Repair relationships with others if they're damaged. Serve others as you grow relationships. Pour into the lives of others. And God rewards that.
Yeah.
In business, it's called, profit. In relationships, it's legacy and grandkids. And, in health, it's I'm staying fit because I want to be here for my grandkids. I'm not just doing it so I look good. I'm doing it for the benefit of those that I love, right? So the rules are all the same in all those areas. And God's made it very clear that, you focus to the degree that you focus on others, there's reward there. That's the journey. So I love that resonated with you. I hadn't heard that part of your story. I'm going to make sure Kevin hears this episode because there was a fairly large group there. A lot of people. Did you have a chance to spend some time with Kevin in conversation?
Not with Kevin. I did have a chance to meet with many people in the conference as a result of being there. Not
Very
with Kevin.
Good. Well, I'll make sure he knows that you were impacted by that. Maybe you could contact him and have a little conversation sometime. But that's tremendous. I'm so glad because for those who don't realize, our conference was over 3 days, but since it was on a Sunday, we had a non-denominational, optional 2 hours, started our day a little early session with a good friend of mine who has a ministry that's all about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it's based on his story of having been attacked in his home and left for dead by an intruder. One of the most vicious in-home invasion stories in Detroit's history.
Yeah.
And he survived. And the cool part is he built a relationship with his attacker and forgave him. A Fight to Forgive. They're actually making a movie about his story. So it's pretty incredible. But he was our guest speaker that Sunday morning. And I'm thrilled to know that it had an impact on you. That's tremendous, Marcel.
I don't know where to go, but I just know I need to take action, get out of the house. I read Robert Kiyosaki's book. I think I have 4 or 5 of his books.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cashflow, Quadrant, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad stories of people who did it. And, the difference between an employee versus self-employed versus business owner versus business investor. And how we want to aim to be a business owner investor. And that resonated with me, having from a parents who has construction and we're building real estate and everything. So I said, okay, I'll sign up for a real estate group. So I did. And in one of the weekly seminar sessions they have in August of 2021, one of the featured speakers talk about how he got into his real estate investments. His first or 2 slide decks were talking about how he was an Amazon e-commerce seller. And I said, wow, I was doing that a year ago. I was still kind of grieving over that. But this guy seems to say that he's successful. And so at the end of his talk, I said, thank you for the talk on your real estate investment. But can you tell me more about your Amazon seller? Because that's what a seller experienced. Because he said that's what helped him get into real estate. And he said, well, have you heard about My Silent Team? I said, no. And then he showed me maybe the Silent Sales Machine book in his phone. And he said, have you heard about Jim Cockrum? I said, no. Oh, well, here's his podcast. You want to check it out?
Oh, that's excellent.
So I did that. I checked the book. I think the Silent Sales Machine book, I bought it from Amazon and I started going to the podcast and listening. And then I think after a few weeks of listening, I said, okay, so this is legit. My trauma of signing on something that could be disastrous was there. And so I was like, I don't know. So I listened and listened and listened. Yeah. And maybe after 4 weeks, I decided to sign on to it. So September 30, 2021, I signed on, both reactivated my Amazon professional seller account and signed on for PAC on the same day.
Wow.
And then there, I was learning more. You start with the Amazon 101 module in the PAC, and then you go to the Replens course that Jimmy Smith teaches. And so I went through that for 4 to 6 weeks. And I made my very first send on October 17. I remember it because it's just a milestone to be able to do that first box. I was so afraid to spend $90. I think it was one I first spent, but I loved it. Okay, this is going to be it. And then I think it took a while because that must be very, very busy because it did not get checked in until like 4 weeks, but I was okay. I was just listening to the podcast and learning the modules, re-listening.
Well, let me ask you a few questions and we'll get into anything you have for me, but how are you finding your profitable inventory? What is the process that you use and what to you determines a good replen?
So I still do RA. I go to the store when I go pick up my items that I need to replenish. I also stop by to do RA where I type in the brand that I'm in front of, type it in, see if there's anything that is profitable. I started using Keepa product finder, typing in based on the brand, put your criteria, like how many drops you wanted, 10 drops, no lower than that, how much profit you want, how many sellers, and then you plug that in the Keepa product finder, and then it will come up with suggested ASINs, and you go and look at each ASINs.
Yeah. Brian Olson has a course, a module, while you're on that topic, inside the Proven Amazon course collection of modules. There's one called Advanced Keepa Training. I think it's called Advanced Keepa, something like that.
Yeah.
He talks about the Keepa product finder page and how to use it, how to navigate. There's many things you can do with that, but that's what you're talking about here. Yeah, it's a very powerful page. I was just talking one of our students through before we started this podcast today, how to jump in and do some research. Super powerful tool. For those who don't know what Keepa is, go listen to podcast episode 369. It's a good intro to why we love Keepa, what it does that no other tool does. We're not going to explain it right now, but it's a powerful tool that all the replen sellers in our community are using.
Okay, now what do I need now? Okay, I need to learn how to outsource, and what are things I need to think about so I just go to the PAC, listen to it in between my sourcing.
Put that lesson in your own words, if you don't mind, Marchelle. People have heard me say it maybe a few times. There's probably some new listeners. You said just-in-time learning. What do you mean by that?
So as you grow your business, as you mature, there are things that you'll be looking for, you'll be needing help on, you need more information on. The Proven Amazon course library has this library of different information that you can go to grow.
Different modules.
Yeah, different modules and even different models. So if the replens, once you do that and you are ready for the next thing, you want to do develop branded bundles, you can go to that module and learn. So whatever you need, you kind of basically find it. It there.
And we contrast that just-in-time learning with, like when you went through university, it's a lot of just-in-case education. We're going to teach you a whole bunch of things just in case you might need it someday. And you fill your head and you memorize facts and data and information and you forget a lot of it, but you test it and you memorize it at the time at least. But our approach is very different around here. We teach you what you need for the next steps ahead of you. And once you've taken those next steps, okay, now what do we need now? So we teach you as you go, just in time versus just in case. It's been part of our education philosophy a long time around here. Thanks for bringing that up. We're very proud of that, actually. And it is a library. It really is. Sometimes people will ask me, how long does it take to go through the Proven Amazon course? And I say, I don't think anyone will ever know. It's like saying, how long would it take me to read all the books in the library? Well, by the time you started to think you had done it, there's all new books in there. The old stuff's been updated and some of the outdated stuff's been purged and there's always more to learn. So we teach you what you need when you need it. That's the e-commerce journey, the way that we teach it. So one of the lessons I shared the first day, I emphasized this year was do you remember the 2-word question that I encouraged everyone? That this is a little test. I don't know see if you remember. Do you remember what it was? The 2-word question that I wanted you to use the whole event? How's
business?
Exactly.
The moment you ask that, they're so enthusiastic. They're happy to share.
Because you get out into the real world and no one asks you that. And if you ask anyone that, they look at you like you're an alien. But here, that's a great question, right?
Good tip, actually. Good tip. So early learnings, I guess I want to share to people who's kind of new or starting. Just list on an existing ASIN. You don't need to create a new list. Just list on anything that you're allowed to list.
Great tip.
And if it maybe not a lot, just list on it. Just find it. And when you find one, be happy with that one. And then what you can do, what I've done is when I have a brand that I was approved on, I went to Seller Central. And you add a product, type in the brand, And then that's my initial on how I did it. It's like I type in the brand and then there's like 500 ASINs of that brand. And I just went one at a time. Okay, am I approved to this? No, not approved. Okay. But out of the 500, I found 13. So I used the 13 and I bought 3 of each of the 13. And that's how kind of like I started growing and getting more excited. Yeah.
We had one student point that out. It's been quite a while ago, but you just pointed out a great tip. There's so many ways to find great replens.
Yeah.
I actually just recorded a few days ago. It hasn't been published yet. An episode of a bunch of different ways to find replens. I left this one out. There's so many cool tips, but like you just said, you go into Seller Central like you're setting up a new listing and you type in a brand and see what pre-populates.
Right.
All those ASINs could be potential replens. Go through, research them, or have your VA 500 research them.
Yeah, went through it. And then ship weekly. Doesn't matter if it's 1 box, 3 boxes every week. Because that will just, Amazon wants to see the metrics that you're reliable seller, that you're going to send it.
Yeah.
That you're consistent. And for me, it took 2.5 months, and after that, it opened up for me, and it opened up everything. And even if you are like request to sell, you just hit that request to sell and you get approved, because they see that you've been sending consistently for over 2 months. So that's a good thing.
We see some people out there charging money and maybe hundreds of dollars, and they have courses or books or content on how to get ungated. We're like, no, just go sell about 50 things and suddenly the gates fly open. And you're just clicking buttons and getting ungated and anything and everything.
Yeah. Then there's the ungating process where they ask you to show proof of purchase. I got that down pat. I mean, just 10 of one thing. I applied 38 minutes. I got approved from the time I purchased the 10th thing. Apply it. I got it already. So it's
don't ever pay anybody for ungating services or advice. It's just
not needed.
Sell a few things.
The key is consistency in shipping. That's I think consistency.
Yeah, it is consistency in shipping, and once they see that you're a serious seller and they trust you, which takes a little time, a couple months, and 50 units sold, the gates really do start to fall open. Have you ever heard me talk about the Hebrew lesson, the 8 levels of giving? The thousands and thousands.
I heard you mention those in one of your podcasts.
Yeah, and I won't go through all 8 of them for the sake of those who maybe haven't heard, Marcel, because this speaks exactly to what you're saying. It's always virtuous to give. It's always virtuous to help someone else. But in the Hebrew culture, there's 8 levels of giving. It's broken down. So the lowest level is begrudgingly giving someone something so they'll leave you alone. Like someone's begging in the street and they're persistent and they're tugging on your jacket and like, here's $1, leave me alone. That was virtuous, but it's not the highest level of virtue. The highest level of virtue, kind of like you said, give a man a fish versus teach him to fish. Well, the highest level is enabling him to become a giver himself. And so that's what we see ourselves doing around here, is teaching people how to grow businesses. And better yet, students come along like you who are seeing the success and they start thinking, okay, wait a second. I could leverage my life experiences and the connections I have and the success I have and create a new way to train this community on how to succeed even further. So now are you not only helping people learn to fish, you're teaching them how to teach other people to fish. Are you with me? It's like that highest level possible of virtue when it comes to giving and generosity. And so I'm excited to see that you're processing it this way.
Yeah.
I see leadership future in this community or wherever else you go and do, but very exciting to be on this journey of, and I just loved hearing your story today. In my opinion, this is kind of Dave Ramsey advice too. I heard him give this advice years ago and I adopted it into the e-commerce arenas. He says, you've got to find someone to go out and kill a bear and drag it back to the cave. That's your first hire. Someone else who's doing the hard work of finding revenue, finding profit. So what's that in e-commerce? Well, it's someone who's going out and finding replens. Someone else who's out there finding new products that you can sell. That's the first hire. Because once you've got that, now you've got some extra margin you can play with to start to automate some of the systems. But you don't want to just make convenience hires. Like, I don't like doing this. I don't feel like it. I'm not motivated to do that. So I'm just going to hire somebody to do that role. If you think that way, you're going to find yourself just meeting payroll for a bunch of people while you scramble to try to come up with enough revenue, right? So you find someone who can generate revenue as your great first hire. So that means a VA that you train, probably from the Philippines, ideally, or use our Proven Replens VA program, and we'll assign one to you. Kyle oversees that program. Those are your first best hires from our vantage point. If you're going to bring someone onto your team, find someone else who finds great inventory with you. But that's for your sake, Marcel, and for anyone else out there who's maybe considering the journey. Well, how's it been going since then? What'd you do next?
So, as many people, me and my wife, we are starting like everybody else, going to discount store and scanning barcode. That's what we were doing. But we think that there must be something else. We don't want to go from store to store trying to scan barcode. And that's when we found the Jimmy Replens training. And that changed everything, because now we have like a business that we can grow, because it was a little bit more predictable. So we know what we were doing. And I remember that Jimmy says that in the first 30 days, you have to find 30 replens. And I think at Walmart alone, we found over 100 replens.
In your first 30 days?
Yeah, because once everything clicked, when my eyes open, we understand everything now, and it was really easy to find replens.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
So you jumped into our replens training, and once it all clicked, once it made sense to you, even at one Walmart, you found 100 replens. Are you still selling any of those today, or have any of them made it through a long period of time?
Yeah, I have a few of those still today, and they made very, very good products. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
How many replens do you have now?
Now I think we have like 275. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Something around. Yeah.
Great work. Mm-hmm. Well, talk me through the routine. How do you find these products? Are you doing all the work yourself? How much time are you putting into this?
So something that I didn't tell you is that I took the online Simplify training. Right. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like 90 to 95% of my business is doing tactical arbitrage and find replens through tactical arbitrage. So basically what I do is, after I took the training, everything is a little bit easier now, because Jessica and Leia, they explain everything pretty well. So basically what I'm doing right now is find replens through tactical arbitrage. Then I place the order. The order comes to my house. My wife take the products and she prep everything. And then we send everything to Amazon. Basically, that's our business right now.
That's tremendous. Well, you guys really have it dialed in, it sounds like. And it's just the two of you then?
Yeah, just my wife and I,
Yeah. How many total hours per week would you say the two of you are spending?
I would say maybe 15 hours. Yeah, like 15 hours every week. Yeah, wow. Because it depends. But with tactical arbitrage, something that tactical arbitrage has now for me is that I can just run a search. I can do something else. And when I come back, I just need to check the results. And after we check Keepa, and if everything is all right, I just place the order. And basically, that's what we do.
That's awesome. Well, for those who don't know, Leonel's mentioning the online arbitrage training that we recently released. That will be part of the Proven Amazon course soon, which is where all of our Amazon training is. But he paid to get early access to it a few months ago. And we do that with some of the new modules around here. We roll them out as a standalone course first, and then we add them to the collection of trainings inside the Proven Amazon course. So that online arbitrage training, we called it OAS, onlinearbitragesimplified.com, is where we sell the course. But you can get it as part of the Proven Amazon course starting towards the end of 2022, early 2023. We're going to roll that in. But that's what you're using primarily, Leonel, now to find all those new replens, correct?
Yeah, that's basically what we do right now. Is just, even though I have all the replens that I found when I was doing Walmart, and I still have those replens. Yeah. But basically right now what we are doing is tactical arbitrage, and find replens through tactical arbitrage.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And about how many are you finding per week on average?
It's difficult to know like exactly, but I can tell you that sometimes I run a search and I can find 20 replens in like an hour. And, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I can find a lot of replens right now.
So that's tremendous. Yeah, Leah and Jessica did a really good job putting that training together for us. And for those who don't know, again, we interviewed both of them. I'll stick links to those episodes in the show notes so you can go back and review them. But that's a couple of moms from our community who both sell approximately 6 figures per month using online shopping only. They never see or touch their inventory. They're sending it to a prep center. Any plans for you guys to begin doing that yourself, using a prep center instead of doing all the prep yourself, especially with online arbitrage?
Yeah, that was one of my questions. That for you, what do you think is a better idea to hire first a virtual assistant or a prep center? What do you think is our next move?
Yeah, I like that question. And generally my answer to that's always going to be, no matter what stage you're at, my answer is always going to be, it makes more sense to have somebody finding inventory for you and helping ramp up the number of products that you can buy and invest in. But you guys have that really dialed in right now. I don't know if you could, are you having trouble buying all the inventory you're finding? Is that a struggle yet? Or
yeah, that's the thing that I think right now we have more inventory, more leads than capital. So yeah, that's what we are trying to
So you may be
out
ready
now
to get a prep center and maybe even get an outside funding source helping you out. Looking into some outside funding. Have you looked into any creative ways to increase your investment funds for your business?
we are using like 2 different business credit cards that help us to buy more inventory. But yeah, we are trying to still figure out how to find more capital to invest in inventory.
You might talk to our friends at AccrueMe as well. Have you had a conversation with them yet by any chance?
No.
Just to have a conversation and see what they can offer you. They'll take a look at the current amount of inventory, your current sales, and then give you some cash. There's no interest that's being accumulated on that cash. You can keep it as long as you want to. When you return that cash to them, they take it plus a percentage of how much your business has grown since they gave you the money. So it's a very friendly way to grow your business without the stress of making a monthly payment. They're good partners of the community. You can find out about them. I did a podcast episode with the founder of that community, and they've helped at this point, I'm guessing around 100, maybe 200 or more listeners to this podcast. But go to silentjimdotcom/funding. There's a great link there. Just go check them out and see what they have to offer. It's a pretty slick deal. And if you come to them from our community as well, I'm pretty sure they're still doing this offer where they give you $500. If they fund you, let's say they fund you $10,000, they give you the 10, then they give you $500 like on a gift card to do whatever you want with, just as a nice way to start the relationship. So it's a really cool organization, very creative funding they love working with Amazon Replens sellers, like the people from our community, because they know that they've got such a solid business model behind them. But yeah, so with the situation you're in, you probably are ready to, your constraint is funding. Your constraint isn't finding profitable inventory. You're finding a lot of it. So you need to get the funding thing dialed in, and it absolutely makes sense to start using a prep center from my vantage point, instead of sending products to your home, sending them to someone else to get them ready to send to Amazon. Just frees up your time. So as you guys do get more capital, you're doing the things that only you can do instead of spending time putting tape on boxes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And for those who don't know, I'm assuming you probably know this, Lionel, but you can go to prepcenternetwork.com, that website. Got a whole list of prep centers in our community, a bunch of them that you can choose from and kind of work your way through and contact a few, maybe start the homework now and see which ones would receive your inventory and what terms they have. Each one of them is a little different. Some of them are small and working out of someone's garage, and others are massive warehouses with a few hundred clients. But we've got all of them listed, all the ones that we're aware of in that one resource. So check that out for sure. Help you
we'll do
in there. Yeah.
Yep. I saw somebody the other day on the group trying to figure out how to find replens. And what worked for me at the beginning was taking picture of the products in the store. Mm-hmm. Like I was going to Walmart. My wife took the picture for me. And when we come home, I just put it in the computer next to the Amazon page. And I was trying to figure it out which one works and which one doesn't. And I think that's a good idea for people like, maybe you don't like to be at the store for a long time. You can take the picture, go home, and you can find a lot of replens that way as well. So if you are new, listen to this. I think that's a good idea that you can do it. And I think
I love the fact that even at Walmart, something that people think of as like, oh, surely people have picked over everything possible there. Well, every Walmart's different. Even in the same region, you're going to find differences at the different Walmarts. But the replens opportunity is so huge. It's so vast that even stores that are available to pretty much everyone in the US, there's still loads of opportunity there because you're not looking for great products. You're looking for great replens, underserved Asins. There's a difference there. And going through the proven Amazon course training on replens, that really helps you understand the difference between the two. Even a lot of times too, Lionel, what we see is you don't have to have the buy box to make sales.
Yeah. Perfect.
You know, the buy box could be floating on, to use your example, you're priced at $25, winning the buy box. There's people selling at $17, $18, and they're making sales too, but you're higher than them, making plenty of sales. But I would say, let's say I'm the other seller, I'm in there at $27 and I never get the buy box. Never goes above $25. But there's plenty of times where I will make the sale, a few times a month where I'll make the sale because I have a regional advantage. My inventory is sitting in a warehouse near the buying customer somewhere. And that customer doesn't care what the buy box says. They want it 2 hours from now. So they grab mine. That happens a lot on the fast moving products. So learning to identify those fast movers where you can make a good profit, even playing well above the current buy box. There's opportunity everywhere. So well done. It sounds like you're figuring out a lot of these types of things and building a beautiful business.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens to me because sometimes I'm not afraid if there is a lot of sellers in one listing, because if I see that Keepa move really fast, if I see more than 20, 30 drops per month, I know that this product sells a lot. So I don't care if there is 20, 25 other sellers, I know that I'm going to sell as well. So yeah, I'm not afraid to jump in a listing if there is a lot of sellers, because once you understand Keepa and you see the movement, you know that you are going to sell as well.
Yeah, that's right. Great tips. You've figured out the secret strategies of this business. It's not complex. It is a lot of work, but it's not complicated.
What I say is, if you have 80% of the product that you buy right, it doesn't matter the other 20, because you're gonna make mistakes, but you're gonna win more than that you lose. So that's what I focus on.
Exactly right. Man, that's a great perspective, Lionel, because it's kind of like, this is the analogy I've used before, is it's kind of like, imagine you were picking stocks and you knew that the system you had was going to produce 80% of the time, produce winners that give you a 40 to 150% ROI. And the other 20% are going to be losers that are either break even or maybe a 10, 20, 30% loss. Would you play that game? Well, absolutely, you would play that game. No. You'd be crazy not to play that game. And that's kind of what the replens system is. About 80% of the time, and that can be a conservative number, you're picking winners. And they're going to sell for a profit within the next 30 or 60 days. And then 20% of the time, oops, I made a mistake, or the price drops, or something else bad happens. You got to liquidate out that product. You're taking a small hit there. But even on those small hits, the nice thing is, a lot of times, if you wait, the price comes back. You sell it at a nice margin. Right. So replens sometimes will drift in and out of being good replens. And on those, you can either time it or just walk away from them and just rely on the steady ones. But you're figuring these things out. And look, you've got some good rules of thumb in place.